There are decisions you make in war that seem right at the time. Textbook correct, tactically sound. The kind of decision any commander would make with the same information. And then you find out what you didn't know, what intelligence missed, what nobody told you. And that decision, that correct decision, becomes the thing that haunts you every single day for the rest of your life. My name is William Mercer, Bill to anyone who knew me before Vietnam. I was a captain in the United States Army, company commander. 120 men under my command in February 1968, during the Tet Offensive, the largest, bloodiest campaign of the Vietnam War. I made a decision that saved my company, eliminated a legitimate military threat, did everything by the book, everything right, and it's destroyed me. Because being right doesn't mean you can live with it. Being tactically correct doesn't mean you can sleep at night. And following orders, doing your duty, making the smart call, none of that stops the faces from appearing every time you close your eyes. This is the story of one decision, made in 30 seconds, with incomplete information, in the middle of a war where nothing was clear and everything was dangerous. A decision that was right and wrong and unforgivable, all at the same time.
Let me take you back, before Vietnam, before the war, before everything changed. Boston, Massachusetts, 1963. I was 22 years old, recent graduate from Boston College, business degree. Had a job lined up in an insurance company. Had a girlfriend who wanted to get married. Had a future that looked safe, stable, predictable. Then, President Kennedy was gone. November 22nd. We all remember where we were. I was in my apartment, watching it on television, seeing Walter Cronkite take off his glasses and announce that the president was gone, seeing the nation fall apart, and something changed in me that day. Kennedy had talked about service, about asking what you could do for your country, about bearing any burden, meeting any hardship. And I'd listened, but never acted. Had planned a safe life, a comfortable life. But watching that funeral, seeing the flag-draped casket, hearing those drums, something shifted. I didn't want safe anymore. Didn't want comfortable. Wanted to serve. Wanted to matter. Wanted to do something that meant something. So in January 1964, I enlisted, joined the Army. Told my girlfriend I needed to do this. She didn't understand. Said I was throwing away my future. Said we could have a good life if I just stayed, took the insurance job, got married, bought a house, did what normal people did. But I couldn't. Couldn't pretend Kennedy's death didn't matter. Couldn't ignore the call to service. So I went. She left. Married someone else 6 months later. I don't blame her. She wanted stability. I wanted purpose. Those things don't always align. The Army sent me to Officer Candidate School, Fort Benning, Georgia. 6 months of intensive training, learning tactics, leadership, how to command men in combat. I was good at it, better than I expected. Had a natural ability to read situations, make quick decisions, stay calm under pressure. They commissioned me as a second lieutenant in July 1964, assigned me to the 9th Infantry Division. By 1966, I was a first lieutenant. By 1967, promoted to captain, given command of Charlie Company. 120 men who called me sir and trusted me to keep them alive.
I took that responsibility seriously, more seriously than anything I'd ever done. Because unlike insurance or business, or any of the safe careers I'd turned down, this job had real stakes, real consequences. My decisions meant life or survival, meant men going home to their families or names on a wall. And I was determined to be the kind of commander who brought his men home, who made smart decisions, who didn't waste lives, who did everything right. Then, Vietnam happened. And I learned that doing everything right sometimes means doing something unforgivable.
We deployed to Vietnam in November 1967, landed at Tan Son Nhut Air Base, stepped off the plane into heat and humidity like nothing I'd ever experienced. Felt like breathing hot soup. Smelled like diesel fuel, rotting vegetation, and something else. Something you couldn't quite identify, but knew was wrong. That was my introduction to Vietnam. Heat, smell, wrongness. We were assigned to the Mekong Delta, river country, rice paddies, villages, jungle. Everything green and wet and alive with things that wanted to end you. Mosquitoes, leeches, snakes, and Viet Cong. Enemy everywhere and nowhere. Farmers by day, fighters by night. You couldn't tell who was who. Couldn't trust anyone. Couldn't relax. Ever. My company's mission was search and destroy. Find enemy forces, engage, eliminate, secure villages, win hearts and minds. All the things that sounded clear in briefings, but became impossibly complicated in reality. How do you win hearts and minds while searching homes and pointing weapons? How do you tell enemy from civilian when they wear the same clothes, speak the same language, live in the same villages? How do you fight a war where the front line is everywhere and nowhere? You don't. You just survive. Try to keep your men alive. Try to follow orders. Try to do the right thing. And hope that's enough. It never was. We lost our first man in December, Private Jackson. Booby trap. Stepped on a punji stake. Sharpened bamboo covered in excrement. Went through his boot, his foot, infected immediately. Medevaced out. Lost the leg. 20 years old from Alabama. Gone because he stepped wrong. After that, everyone was terrified. Every step could be the last. Every bush could hide a trap. Every villager could be enemy. Every moment was tension, paranoia, fear that made you see threats everywhere, made you question everything, made you do things you wouldn't normally do, made you into someone you didn't recognize. By January 1968, we'd been in country for 2 months. Lost 6 men. 3 to booby traps, 2 to sniper fire, 1 to some infection that ate through him in 3 days despite everything the medics did. And the Tet Offensive hadn't even started yet.
January 30th, 1968. Tet. The Vietnamese New Year. Supposed to be a ceasefire. Both sides honoring the holiday, standing down, relaxing. Instead, the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong launched coordinated attacks across South Vietnam, hit over 100 cities simultaneously. Saigon, Hue, Da Nang, everywhere. The largest offensive of the entire war. We were in the Delta when it started. Got orders to move immediately, support the city defenses, engage enemy forces, restore order,
We humped through jungle for 3 days straight, carrying everything: weapons, ammunition, rations, water. 90 pounds on your back in 100-degree heat, moving through terrain that fought you every step. Thick jungle, deep mud, rivers that came out of nowhere. And everywhere, the knowledge that enemy could be watching, waiting, ready to hit us when we were most vulnerable. We made contact on February 2nd, ambushed on a jungle trail. Enemy opened up from 3 sides: RPGs, AK-47s, machine guns. We went to ground, returned fire, called in air support, fought for 3 hours, lost 8 men, wounded 15 more. Finally broke contact, withdrew, regrouped. That ambush changed everything. Before, we'd been careful, professional, by the book. After, we were terrified, angry, desperate. Every shadow became enemy. Every sound became threat. Every decision became life or survival. And I was responsible for making those decisions, for keeping 112 men alive in a jungle full of people trying to end them. The pressure was crushing, constant. Every choice mattered. Every order could be the wrong one. Every moment I had to decide: advance or hold, engage or withdraw, trust or suspect, and live with the consequences. We spent the next 2 weeks hunting the Viet Cong unit that ambushed us, moving through villages, searching, questioning, finding nothing. They were ghosts, there and gone, visible and invisible. We'd enter a village, find nothing, leave, then take fire from that same village an hour later. The villagers would claim they didn't know anything, hadn't seen anything, were just farmers trying to survive. And maybe they were. Or maybe they were hiding enemy, feeding them, supporting them. How do you tell the difference when everyone looks the same, when everyone claims innocence, when trust gets people ended? You don't. You just assume everyone's dangerous, suspect everyone, trust no one, and hope you're wrong more often than you're right.
February 18th, 1968. The day everything changed. We'd been in the field for 3 weeks, hunting a Viet Cong battalion intelligence said was operating in our area. We'd found traces, old camps, tunnel entrances, signs of recent activity, but never the enemy themselves. They were always one step ahead, always gone when we arrived. My company was exhausted. We'd lost 15 men total, 3 to combat, 12 to booby traps, disease, heat exhaustion. We were down to 105 effective soldiers. Everyone was tired, paranoid, on edge, jumping at every sound, seeing threats everywhere. That's when you make mistakes, when you're tired and scared and everything looks dangerous. That's when judgment fails. That's when you do things you can't take back. We were moving through the Delta, thick jungle, transitioning to rice paddies, villages every few miles. We'd been through dozens, searched them, found nothing. Same routine. Interpreter asks questions, villagers claim ignorance. We move on, over and over. Then we came to a village called Ap Bing. Small, maybe 30 structures. Thatched roofs, dirt paths, rice paddies surrounding it. Intelligence had cleared it 2 weeks prior, marked it as friendly, no enemy activity, safe to approach. But my point man, Sergeant Davis, stopped the column 100 yards out, held up his fist. Everyone froze. Davis was the best soldier I had. 2 tours, survived things that should have ended him.
Had instincts you couldn't teach. Knew when something was wrong. And he was signaling danger. I moved forward, crouched next to him. "What is it, sir?" "Not sure, sir. Something's off." "What do you mean off?" "It's too quiet. No chickens, no dogs, no kids playing. Nothing. It's like..." He paused. "Like they're hiding." I looked at the village. He was right. Usually you'd hear sounds, animals, people, life. But this was silent, empty, wrong. "Could be abandoned," I suggested. "Could be," Davis agreed. "Or could be they're waiting for us." "An ambush?" "Yes, sir. That's exactly what it feels like." I pulled out my map, checked the intelligence report. Marked friendly, cleared, safe to approach. But Davis's gut said otherwise. And I trusted his gut more than I trusted intelligence reports written by people who weren't there.
I radioed my XO, Lieutenant Morrison, had him bring up the platoon leaders. 5 of us crouched in the jungle looking at that silent village. "Intelligence says it's friendly," Morrison said. "When was the last update?" I asked. 2 weeks. "A lot can change in 2 weeks. So what's the call, sir?" Lieutenant Harper asked. 23 years old, new in country. Still believed everything would be okay if we just followed procedure. I envied that innocence, even though I knew it wouldn't last. "We need to clear that village," I said. "Could be civilians sheltering from fighting. Could be empty. Could be enemy. We won't know until we check." "Sir," Davis interjected. "Permission to speak freely." "Always, Sergeant." "I really don't like this. I've seen this before. Silent village. Perfect ambush site. We walk in, they hit us from the hooches, from the tree line, from tunnels. Could lose half the company before we even see them." He was right. It was the perfect ambush site. Jungle on 3 sides, open approaches, structures for cover, tunnels we couldn't see. If the Viet Cong were there and wanted to hit us, we'd be walking into a meat grinder. "Options?" I asked. Lieutenant Morrison checked the map. "We could bypass, keep moving. Not our problem." "And if they hit another unit tomorrow," I countered, "if we had intelligence that enemy was there and we did nothing?" "Sir," Lieutenant Harper said, "intelligence cleared it, marked it safe 2 weeks ago. Intelligence isn't here, isn't seeing what we're seeing, isn't feeling what Davis is feeling." "Sir, with respect," Harper said, "if we drop artillery on a friendly village, then we've made a tragic mistake," I finished. "But if we walk into an ambush to avoid making a mistake, we've lost 50 men. So which mistake is worse, risking our men or risking theirs?" Silence. Because that was the question, wasn't it? Risk American lives or risk Vietnamese lives? Risk my men or risk civilians? Follow intelligence or follow instinct? There was no good answer, only bad ones and worse ones. And I had 30 seconds to decide which was which.
"Sir," Davis said quietly, "my gut is screaming. I felt this before. Right before the ambush on Route 13 last year. Right before we walked into that village near Bong Son. Both times, everything looked safe. Both times, it wasn't. Both times, we lost good men because someone ignored the warning signs." I looked at the village again. Still silent. Still empty. Still wrong. But was it wrong because enemy was there? Or wrong because civilians were terrified of us, hiding because they feared American soldiers as much as they feared Viet Cong? How do you tell the difference? You can't. You just make your best guess and live with being wrong. "Harper, get me fire support on the radio," I ordered. Harper's face went pale. Sir, are you sure? No, I admitted, but I'm not sure about anything right now, except that I'm not sending my men into a potential ambush. Get me fire support. Harper hesitated, looked at Morrison for support. Morrison looked at me. Sir, maybe we should get higher approval. Battalion commander? Isn't here, I cut him off. Didn't see what Davis saw. Didn't feel what we're feeling. I'm the commander on the ground. This is my call. Get me fire support. Morrison nodded slowly. Harper grabbed the radio. The call connected to our supporting artillery battery. 105mm howitzers, positioned 10 miles away, ready to fire on any coordinates we gave them. Fire support, this is Charlie 6, Harper said into the radio, his voice shaking slightly. Request fire mission. The artillery officer responded, confirmed ready. Target is grid coordinates 438721, Harper read from the map. Suspected enemy concentration in village. Request 6 rounds high explosive. Confirmed target is hostile? The artillery officer asked. Standard question, making sure we weren't calling fire on friendly positions. Harper looked at me, eyes asking the question. Was it hostile? Did we know for sure? I didn't know, couldn't know, but I had to answer, had to commit, had to make the call. Confirmed hostile, I said. 6 rounds HE, fire for effect. Harper repeated it into the radio. The artillery officer confirmed, said rounds out and 30 seconds. 30 seconds until 6 artillery shells traveled 10 miles and landed on that village. 30 seconds until my decision became real, became permanent, became something I couldn't take back. All units, take cover, I ordered. Incoming friendly artillery. My company went to ground, faces in the dirt, hands over helmets, waiting for the sound. I stayed crouched, watching the village, watching that silent, empty, wrong place that was about to cease existing. And I wondered if I'd just made the best decision of my career or the worst mistake of my life.
The sound of artillery is unlike anything else. A whistle, getting louder, then the impact, the explosion, the shock wave that you feel in your chest. 6 rounds, 6 whistles, 6 explosions, 6 mushroom clouds of dirt and debris and whatever else was there. I watched that village disappear, watched the structures collapse, watched the trees shatter, watched everything in a 100-yard radius get destroyed. 6 rounds of high explosive turning earth and wood and everything else into a crater. It took 30 seconds. 30 seconds to erase a place, to ensure that whatever was there, enemy or civilian or nothing, was there no longer. When the smoke cleared, there was just rubble, destruction, silence of a different kind. Not the silence of hiding, the silence of ending. Ceasefire, I ordered. Prepare to move in, 2 platoons, weapons tight. If anything moves, you call it in before you engage. Understood? Yes, sir, the platoon leaders responded. We waited 5 minutes. Let the smoke clear. Let the dust settle. Let anything that survived reveal itself. Nothing moved. Nothing made sound. Just rubble and smoke. Move out, I ordered. We entered the village, or what was left of it. Craters where structures had been. Debris everywhere. Smell of explosives and burning. And something else. Something worse. The smell you never forget once you've encountered it. We spread out, clearing the rubble, checking for survivors, for bodies, for evidence of what had been there. And we found it. Weapons cache in the second structure, AK-47s, ammunition, RPGs, Chinese grenades, enough weapons to arm a company,
Enough ammunition for a sustained fight. Tunnel entrance in the third structure. Led underground. Went deep. We threw grenades down. Collapsed it. But it was there. Part of a larger network. Viet Cong infrastructure. Enemy presence. Everything Davis had felt was right. It was an ambush waiting to happen. We'd found the Viet Cong unit we'd been hunting. They'd been here, in this village, planning to hit us, and my artillery strike had caught them. "Sir," Sergeant Davis called. He was standing in what had been the center of the village, his face gray. "You need to see this." I walked over, looked at what he was looking at, and my heart stopped. Bodies. Vietnamese, but not soldiers, not fighters, not enemies. Women, children, elderly. Maybe 20 of them, maybe more. Hard to tell from the damage, but clearly not fighters, clearly civilians, caught in the artillery strike, caught because they'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because they were hiding from the fighting, or hiding because they were terrified of us, or hiding because the Viet Cong forced them to, or just hiding because that's what you do in war. And I'd ordered 6 rounds of high explosive onto them, without knowing they were there.
"Sir," Lieutenant Harper said quietly. He'd gone pale. "Oh God. Sir, there are kids." I saw them. Couldn't not see them. Small bodies. Young. Some of them looked like they'd been trying to hide, huddled together, seeking protection that didn't exist. There's no protection from artillery. No hiding, no escape. 6 rounds of high explosive doesn't discriminate, doesn't care who's enemy and who's innocent. Just destroys everything in the impact zone. And I'd given the order. "Search the rest of the area," I ordered. Voice flat, empty. "Document everything. Weapons, tunnels, and..." I couldn't finish. "And the casualties," Morrison finished for me. We spent the next 2 hours documenting, taking photos, counting, recording, building a report that would go up the chain of command that would explain what happened here. The weapons cache? Confirmed. 23 AK-47s, 14 RPGs, several thousand rounds of ammunition, Chinese manufactured, enough evidence to prove Viet Cong presence. The tunnels? Confirmed. Entrance and ventilation shafts, part of larger network, used for hiding, for storage, for moving unseen, all legitimate military targets. The bodies? Confirmed. 42 total. 18 identified as military-age males, probable Viet Cong. The others? The others were women, children, elderly, non-combatants, civilians, people who shouldn't have been there, who should have been somewhere safe. But there was nowhere safe. Not in Vietnam. Not when your village gets used as a base by both sides. Not when you can't leave because you have nowhere to go. Not when hiding seems safer than running. 42 total casualties. 18 probably enemy. 24 probably innocent. And I'd ordered it. Given the command. Made the call. Saved my company by destroying theirs. We radioed the report to battalion. Waited for a response. Waited for someone to tell us we'd done right or done wrong. Waited for judgment. Charlie 6, this is battalion. Received your report. Confirm weapons cache discovered? Affirmative. 23 rifles, 14 RPGs, ammunition, tunnel network. Civilian casualties? 24. Mixture of women, children, elderly. Pause. Long pause. Confirm enemy presence in village prior to strike? Unable to confirm visually, I said, but weapons and tunnels confirm hostile activity in location. Probable enemy presence. Understood. Mark village as cleared. Continue mission. Good work, Charlie 6. Battalion out. Good work. That's what they said. Good work. Because we'd found the weapons, found the tunnels, eliminated a threat, done our job, followed doctrine, made a tactical decision that saved American lives. Good work. The words tasted like ash.
We stayed in that village for another hour, finished documenting, gathered the weapons, destroyed the tunnels, did everything by procedure, everything professional, everything correct. And the entire time, I couldn't stop seeing the faces, small bodies, evidence that my decision had hit more than just enemy. My men didn't talk, didn't look at each other, just did their jobs mechanically, professionally. But I could see it in their faces, the knowledge, the weight, the understanding that we'd done something that couldn't be undone. Sergeant Davis finally approached me. "Sir, we couldn't have known," he said quietly. "The civilians, we couldn't have known they were there." "Does that matter?" I asked. "Yes, sir, it does. Intelligence said the village was friendly. Then we saw signs of enemy, made the call, it saved the company. If we'd gone in on foot, we might have saved them," I finished. "Or we might have lost 50 men walking into that ambush," Davis countered. "The weapons were there, sir. The tunnels were there. The enemy was there. We made the right call." "Then why doesn't it feel right?" Davis had no answer, because there was no answer. Sometimes the right decision and the wrong decision are the same decision. Sometimes being tactically correct means being morally wrong. Sometimes saving your men means ending others and living with that. We left the village at 1600 hours, continued our patrol, moved deeper into the Delta, hunting more enemy, doing more missions, following more orders. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Couldn't stop seeing it. Couldn't stop replaying the decision. 30 seconds. That's how long I'd taken to decide. 30 seconds to weigh incomplete information, trust my sergeant's gut, choose to protect my men over risking them on a village that might be friendly or might be hostile. 30 seconds to call in artillery, to give the order that ended 42 lives, to make the decision that was right and wrong and unforgivable, all at the same time. We finished the operation 3 days later, returned to base, debriefed, filed reports. I wrote it all down, the decision process, the intelligence, the signs of enemy presence, the weapons cache, the tunnels, the civilian casualties. Made it clinical, professional, by the book. The colonel read my report, called me into his office. "Captain Mercer," he said, "hell of a situation you were in." "Yes, sir." "You made the right call, saved your company, found the weapons, eliminated a threat, textbook decision-making." "Sir, about the civilians. Collateral damage,
Unfortunate, tragic, but unavoidable in that scenario. You didn't know they were there, couldn't have known. Made your decision based on the information available. That's what command is. Yes, sir. Don't second-guess yourself, Captain. You did your duty, followed procedure, made a hard call that kept your men alive. That's what we ask of our officers, nothing more. He dismissed me, told me good work, told me to move on, told me not to dwell on it. And I tried. God, I tried. Went back to my company, led more patrols, made more decisions, did my job professionally, kept my men alive as best I could. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every night, I'd close my eyes and see that village, see the weapons cache that proved I was right, see the bodies that proved I was wrong, see the choice I'd made playing out over and over. 30 seconds, right decision, wrong outcome, both true simultaneously. My men didn't talk about it, not directly, but I could see the change, the way they looked at villages now, the way they trusted my orders without question, because I'd proven I'd choose them over anyone else. I'd proven I'd call fire on anything I suspected was dangerous. I'd proven I'd do whatever it took to keep them alive. They trusted me more after that village, and I hated it. Hated that my willingness to make that decision made them feel safer. Hated that eliminating 42 people made me a better commander in their eyes. Hated that being right and being wrong felt exactly the same.
March 1968. Another patrol, another village, another decision. This time I hesitated. Saw signs of enemy presence. My sergeant said it felt wrong, but I remembered the faces, remembered the small bodies, remembered 42 casualties. So I sent scouts first, approached carefully, took our time, and walked into an ambush. Lost 12 men before we could even return fire. 12 men because I hesitated, because I second-guessed, because I tried not to make the same mistake again. Except the mistake was different this time. This time the mistake was caution, was caring too much about not hurting innocents, was letting the last decision paralyze the next one. We fought our way out, called in air support, eventually secured the village, found enemy positions, tunnels, weapons, everything that proved it had been a threat, everything that proved I should have called artillery like last time. 12 men gone because I didn't. The colonel called me in again. "Captain Mercer," he said, his voice hard. "What happened out there?" "Walked into an ambush, sir. Lost 12 men." "Why didn't you prep the village? Artillery? Airstrike? Why did you approach on foot?" "Sir, How did I explain? How did I say that I'd been trying not to repeat the last decision? Trying not to end more civilians? I was trying to be certain, sir. Trying to confirm enemy presence before calling fire. And it cost you 12 men," he said flatly. "Yes, sir." "Let me be clear, Captain. Your job is to accomplish the mission and keep your men alive. Not to worry about what might be in a village. Not to hesitate. You had intelligence. You had signs. You should have called fire. Instead, you got 12 men ended." "Sir, at Ap Bing, we ended civilians. Collateral damage," he cut me off. "Part of war. Unavoidable." "You think those civilians wanted VC using their village? You think they had a choice? We're fighting an enemy that hides among the population, uses them as shields. Sometimes they get caught in the crossfire. It's tragic, but it's not on you. What is on you is the 12 men who didn't come home because you hesitated. He was right. By the book, by doctrine, by everything we were taught. The mission came first. Our men came first. Everything else was secondary. But standing there listening to him say it, I realized something. There was no right answer. Use artillery, you might hit civilians. Don't use artillery, you might lose men. Act fast, you might make mistakes. Hesitate, you might miss chances. Every decision had costs. Every choice had consequences. And no matter what you chose, you'd spend the rest of your life wondering if the other choice would have been better. Welcome to command. Welcome to war. Welcome to carrying weight that never lifts.
I finished my tour in November 1968. 13 months in Vietnam. Led my company through dozens of operations. Lost 43 men total. Saved 82. Made hundreds of decisions, most of them right by doctrine, some of them wrong by conscience. All of them permanent. They promoted me to major, gave me a Bronze Star with V device for valor. Sent me home to a country that didn't want to hear about Vietnam. Didn't want to know what we'd done. Didn't want to face what the war had cost. I tried to resume normal life. Went back to Boston, found a job, found a woman, got married, had kids, built a career, built a life that looked normal from the outside. But I was never really there. Part of me stayed in Vietnam, stayed in that moment 30 seconds long, stayed making that decision over and over, stayed wondering if I'd chosen right. My wife asked me once why I had nightmares, why I'd wake up screaming, why I couldn't watch fireworks or loud movies, why I'd flinch at every unexpected sound. I told her it was just the war, just things I'd seen, just what happens to soldiers who've been in combat. I didn't tell her about Op Bin, didn't tell her about the decision, about the weapons cache that proved I was right, about the 42 bodies that proved I was wrong, about living with both truths simultaneously. How could she understand? She hadn't been there, hadn't felt the weight of command, hadn't made decisions where every option ended in someone dying. She'd try to understand, would say I'd done my best, would say it wasn't my fault, would say the same things the colonel had said. But understanding and carrying are different things. She could understand intellectually, but she didn't have to carry it, didn't have to see the faces, didn't have to live with knowing what she'd done. That weight was mine alone. The marriage lasted 12 years. She tried. God, she tried. But you can't love someone who's half present. Can't build a life with someone who's living in the past. Can't compete with ghosts. She remarried, found someone whole, someone present, someone who could give her what I couldn't. I'm glad. She deserved better than a man haunted by decisions made in 30 seconds 50 years ago.
30 years after Vietnam, I was working as a manager at a logistics company. Successful, respected, normal. Then I got a letter from Vietnam, from a woman named Nguyen Thi Lan, written in careful English. She'd found my name in military records, records that had been declassified, records of operations in her province, records that mentioned Ap Bing Village, February 18th, 1968. She was writing to ask about that day, about what happened, about why, because she'd been there. She'd survived. She was 11 years old in 1968, living in Ap Bing with her parents, grandparents, siblings. She remembered American soldiers in the area, remembered Viet Cong using their village, remembered being told to hide when fighting started, remembered the whistling sound, the explosions, the world ending. She'd survived because she'd been in a root cellar her grandfather had dug, deep underground, protected from the artillery. When she climbed out, her family was gone. Everyone. Parents, 3 siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles. 42 people she'd known, loved, lost. She'd spent 30 years trying to understand why, trying to learn what happened, trying to find someone who could explain. And now, she'd found me. The letter asked simple questions. Did you give the order? Did you know we were there? Was there enemy in the village? Could it have been avoided? I stared at that letter for 3 days. Couldn't answer. Couldn't not answer. Finally, I wrote back, told her everything. The intelligence, the signs, the decision, the weapons we'd found, the tunnels, the proof that enemy had been there, the proof that my decision had military justification, and the proof that it had cost innocent lives anyway. Told her I was sorry, that I'd carry it forever, that I'd made what I thought was the right call, and I was wrong and right simultaneously, that there was no answer that made it better. She wrote back 3 months later, said she understood, that she knew VC had used the village, that her father had protested but couldn't stop them, that her family had been trapped between 2 sides, that war gave no one choices. But then she asked one more question I couldn't answer. If you could go back, she wrote, knowing what you know now, would you make the same decision? I never answered that letter, because I didn't know. Still don't know. If I could go back with full information, knowing civilians were there, knowing the cost, would I still call that artillery? Would I risk my men to save theirs? Would I make a different choice? Or would I make the same one? Because that's the thing about decisions made in war. You make them with incomplete information, with time pressure, with responsibility for people's lives. You make your best guess, and then you live with being right and wrong at the same time. If I'd known civilians were there, I'd like to think I'd have found another way, approached more carefully, sent scouts, taken the risk myself. But that's easy to say now, easy to believe when I'm not there, when I'm not responsible for 105 men, when I'm not making the call in 30 seconds. The truth? I don't know. And that uncertainty is its own kind of torment.
I was 69 years old, retired, living alone, getting older, getting closer to the end, and still carrying it, still seeing those faces, still replaying that decision, still wondering if I'd chosen right. Then I got a phone call, unknown number, Vietnamese accent. Is this William Mercer? Captain, Charlie Company, February 1968? Yes, I said. Wondering who, wondering why. My name is Nguyen Van Duc. I was Viet Cong. I was in Ap Bin village the day you called artillery. My heart stopped. One of them. One of the fighters who'd been there. One of the reasons I'd made the decision. One of the people I'd been trying to stop. I survived, he continued. Was in tunnels when shells hit. Came out after. Saw the damage. Saw what your artillery did. I couldn't speak. Couldn't think. Just listen. I'm calling because I'm old now. Dying. Cancer. Want to settle things before end. Want you to know something. What? You were right. The words hit like a physical blow. What? You were right to call artillery. We were there. 32 fighters. Planning ambush. Waiting for your company. Would have hit you hard. Would have ended many Americans. Your decision saved your men. But the civilians? Were there because we forced them. Used them as shields, as cover, as excuse, knowing Americans would hesitate, would worry, would maybe not shoot if civilians present. He coughed, long and wet, sick. We did that, not you. We put them in danger. We used them. We caused their deaths by being there. You responded. You protected your men. You made military decision. We made it necessary by our tactics. That doesn't absolve. No, it doesn't. Nothing absolves. War does not give absolution, only explanations. And I explain now. You were right. I was there. I know. We were going to hit you. You sensed it. Stopped it. Saved your men. That is what happened. Why are you telling me this? Because I carried it too. Carried the weight of those civilians. Knowing we'd put them there. Knowing we'd use them. Knowing we'd cause their deaths by our tactics. Carried it 50 years. And before I die, I wanted someone else to know the truth, that we were both soldiers, both following orders, both making choices that ended people, both carrying a weight we'll never put down. He paused, breathing labored. Maybe it helps to know you weren't only one responsible, that I carry it too, that we all carry the weight of that war. All of us who were there, all of us who made choices, all of us who survived. Does it help you to share the weight? No, he admitted. But at least I told the truth before I died. At least I said it. That's something. He died 3 weeks later. I know because his daughter called. Said he'd wanted me to know. Wanted me to understand that he'd meant what he said. That he'd carried the weight. That we'd both been soldiers doing what soldiers do. And that war doesn't give absolution. Only explanations. I wish I could say it helped. That knowing I'd been right. That knowing the enemy had been there. That knowing a former enemy validated my decision. I wish I could say it made the weight lighter. It didn't. Because being right doesn't erase the cost. Knowing the enemy was there doesn't bring back 42 people. Having my decision validated doesn't let me sleep better. The weight stays. The faces stay. The knowledge stays. That's the price of command. That's the cost of making decisions in war. You carry them. Forever. Right or wrong, justified or not, you carry them.
I'm 84 years old now. 57 years since Ap Bin. Since that decision. Since those 30 seconds that shaped everything that came after. I've lived a long life. Longer than many who were there. Longer than the 42 people who died that day. Longer than 12 men who died because I hesitated the next time. I've had a career, a family, grandchildren, a life that looks successful from the outside. And every single day, I've carried that decision, carried the weight, carried the faces, carried the knowledge that I was right and wrong simultaneously. People ask me about Vietnam, sometimes. Not often anymore. Most people don't want to hear about wars we lost, wars that divided the country, wars that didn't have clear victories or noble purposes. But when they ask, I tell them the truth. War is complicated. Decisions are impossible. You make your best guess with incomplete information, and you live with the consequences forever. They nod, think they understand. They don't. How could they? How could anyone who hasn't been there understand what it's like to make a decision in 30 seconds that haunts you for 57 years? To be right and wrong at the same time. To save lives and end lives with the same choice. You can't understand it. You just carry it. And that's what I've done. Carried it. Every day, every night, every moment. Carried the weight of being a commander, of being responsible, of making decisions that matter, of living with consequences that never end. Here's what I learned at Ap Bin. There are no good decisions in war, only less terrible ones. You make your call, you live with it, you carry the weight, and you hope that on balance, you saved more than you cost. But you never really know, never can be sure, because every decision has hidden costs. Every choice has unseen consequences. And by the time you learn what you didn't know, it's too late to choose differently. I made a decision that saved my company, that eliminated a real threat, that was tactically correct and strategically justified. And it haunts me every single day. Not because I was wrong, but because I was right. And being right cost 42 lives, including 24 who shouldn't have been there, who were trapped between two sides, who died because I made a decision in 30 seconds without knowing they existed. That's the weight of command. That's the price of war. That's what they don't tell you when they pin on the captain's bars. That you'll make correct decisions that destroy you. That you'll do the right thing and hate yourself for it. That you'll carry the weight of being right and wrong simultaneously for the rest of your life. I still see the village.
Still see it every night before I sleep. See it two ways. See the weapons cache, the tunnels, the proof that enemy was there, the proof that my decision was correct, the proof that I saved my men. And see the bodies, the civilians, the proof that my decision cost innocent lives, the proof that being right isn't the same as being good. Both visions are true. Both exist simultaneously. Right and wrong, correct and unforgivable, justified and haunting. That's what I carry. That's what I'll carry until I close my eyes for the last time. And maybe after. Maybe there's somewhere we go to face the decisions we made. Somewhere we answer for the choices that seemed right at the time. Somewhere we explain ourselves to the faces we still see. I hope there is, because I have things to say, things to explain, things to apologize for. Even if I was right, even if I saved my men, even if I followed doctrine and did everything correct, I still have things to say to 42 people who died because I made a decision in 30 seconds. They say command is an honor, a privilege, a sign of trust and respect. They're right. But what they don't say is that command is also a burden, a weight, a sentence. To carry every decision, every consequence, every face, forever. I made a decision that haunts me every day, not because it was wrong, but because it was right. And sometimes being right is the hardest thing to live with.